So I saw the Barbie movie, and I have thoughts. This was my outfit, by the way. Just, if you want to see a more detailed video on that, go find my TikTok, because I did a whole fit check. This is not about that. This is about the movie. Greta Gerwig's masterpiece. So, I just saw the Barbie movie for the first time in the cinema. I went with my father, because I'm cool that way. He really enjoyed it. So did I. This is definitely one of those films that I need to study. I spent a lot of money getting a film degree that I did not need. I mean, technically it's a media and performance degree, but there was film theory in there was filmmaking. In fact, just coincidentally, here's a photo from my graduation. I that's a thing that I did that I do not use. And I feel like those muscles have kind of gotten lazy and I need to train them again. What I really need to do is start making video essays about niche media topics. Because there's not enough people doing that already. But this movie, it tickled the little part of my brain, the little film analysis part of my brain, and I want to talk about it. But I feel like I literally just got home. I know I did the bit where I walk in, and obviously that's staged because I have to set up the camera first, but literally, not that staged. I got home maybe 10 minutes ago. So this is me fresh out of it. There's something about this movie that is honestly kind of, and I don't want to bring male auteurs into this because they're irrelevant, but I keep coming back to Stanley Kubrick. There's a very obvious, a very intentional Kubrick reference at the beginning of this film. We all saw it. It was released as a teaser months and months ago. I'm actually super happy that was actually in the film, because I thought that was just a promotional thing that they had made, to build up hype for the film. But it's actually, spoiler alert, it's the first scene of the movie, is the 2001, Barbie, little girls smashing their, baby dolls, looking up at Barbie in amazement. It's incredible. That's a very obvious Kubrick reference. There's other sort of more subtle Kubrick references throughout. But what keeps bringing me back to Kubrick is not the actual references to his work. It's the way that this film is made, the way it's structured and shot and designed to be artificial. Now, you might be thinking, oh, of course it's artificial, it's about a doll. And yeah, obviously, if we look at the movie, it's about Barbie dolls. And it's very deliberately the Barbie world. The Barbie dream house looks not like a house that Barbie might live in. It looks like the actual toy Barbie dream house. The car is actual toy car. When she brushes her hair, it's with the big doll brush that you get when you buy a doll. It's not a doll-sized hairbrush, it's the actual doll hairbrush. So, yes, this film is deliberately designed to look artificial. And that is a perfectly, normal thing for this film to have done. But it's more than that deliberate design choice. It's in the editing, it's in the lighting, it's in the musical choices. Everything is artificial, but artificial in a way, in a very deliberate, artistic way. It's the same way Kubrick uses artificiality to create a sense of otherness and isolation. It's Brechtian, essentially. It reminds you constantly, you are watching a film. This is a created reality. But the internal world of it is real, and the feelings are real. Not that Kubrick is necessarily a great man for feelings. His style is more cerebral, because, if you read anything about Stanley Kubrick, not a great dude. That's putting it mildly, but certainly like cerebral. It was all about the cerebral and the thought. And that is sort of the antithesis to this film, because this film is all about feelings, but it is using the same kind of othering artificial techniques to sort of distance you and also pull you in. It's extraordinary. I mean, if we look at Greta Gerwig's other work, like, it is the exact opposite of Little Women, which I think is really interesting because it deals with some similar themes, about womanhood and personhood and creation versus being, which is it's very interesting. I want to get into more. But if you look at Greta Gerwig's Little Women is a film that's muddy. Like, they exist in a world where it rains, where the ground gets muddy, their boots tread mud into the house, the hems of their skirts get worn and dirty. When Jo's in the city, she's running through the filth of the city. It's very much a movie where dirt exists. Meanwhile, the Barbie movie is not a dirty movie. And no, that sounds bad. You know what I mean. The Barbie movie does not have mud. It's not a muddy movie. Obviously, the Barbie land side of it, that's very deliberately artificial, does not have mud. It doesn't rain there. It doesn't have weather. It's an unreal space. It's a dreamland, essentially. Like, it's Barbie's dreamland. But the real world also doesn't have mud. And not just because it's set in LA, where it doesn't really rain. Like, it's the real world, but it's not a muddy world. It's a clean world. Does that make any sense? I don't know if I'm making sense. I have a thought and I don't know how to word it. I think the obvious choice with this film would have been to make the Barbie world of it super artificial, which they did, but then to make the real world gritty and real and really play up that contrast, which they don't. They do in the beginning. There's a contrast between, when Barbie and Ken first get to the real world, and it looks like the real world, but it's also cleaner. Even when Barbie's dealing with harassment, even when Ken's discovering the patriarchy. Spoiler alert, like, there's spoilers in this video. I should have said that before. Listen, this is not a structured thing. This is just me talking at you. But when we get to the real world, it is very much our world, and it's talking about real issues in our world, but it's our world heightened. It's our world cleaner. It's our world more artificial. It's our world filtered. And I think that's fascinating. And as the film goes on, the real world becomes more artificial. You see at first Barbie and Ken are in the real world, and Barbie has to find the little girl who doesn't believe in her anymore, and the little girl that's sad. And then we cut to the Mattel offices, and it's very Kubrick. It's very stylized. It kind of reminded me a little bit of, and this is not a film that I think a lot of people will be associating with the Barbie movie, but it reminded me a lot of Dr. Strangelove in a certain way. Just like and again, I'm sure this is deliberate on Greta Gerwig's part, but I don't know what I'm supposed to be getting out of it. I don't know if I'm on the right track or if this is just me being crazy, but it reminds me so much of Dr. Strangelove in that, you see little what's his name, the little guy, the guy who gets the call from the FBI, and he's in his little cubicle, and it's very like, it's very dystopian, like, we're in these little cubicles and there's no sunlight, and there's something, it's very funny. Like, it's the same way that Kubrick which is, Dr. Strangelove is the only comedy that Kubrick ever made, because he wasn't a very funny man. Humor was not his strong suit, and yet certainly I find Doctor Strangelove hilarious because it is this these absurd things and these absurd lines played so straight and so serious, and it's a dark comedy certainly because it's about the end of the world, but it's also a dark comedy because it is about people being people in like the worst way possible, like just human nature, but at its worst, but not in a kind of dark, primal, oh, we're beating each other up kind of way. Like, people being their worst in the most mundane way. Like, that film is ultimately about that, that mundanity of evil. Like, I can't remember the quote because, again, this is not a structured video. Research has not been put in, so I can't tell you the exact quote that I'm thinking of. But there is a quote about the banality of evil, which I feel like kind of applies to Doctor Strange. Like, that's what Doctor Strangelove is about. But I also think that applies to Mattel. And obviously, this film's made by Mattel, so it was never going to show them in a terrible light, which I think is kind of unfortunate. I think the one place where the film falls down is that the Mattel executives are too nice in a way. I wish, like, you see moments of, at the very end, and again, spoilers, but at the very end when you see Gloria going, why can't there be a Barbie that's just real Barbie, like ordinary woman Barbie, and she's got some flaws and she's got some good points and blah blah blah, and you see Will Ferrell's big CEO guy go, haha, we're not gonna do that, and then one of his little minions goes, well, actually that would make us a shit ton of money, and Will Ferrell's like, well, then we'll do that, hooray, feminism. And like, that's the core of the movie. It's feminism used as capitalism, and on a metatextual level, obviously this film is paid for by Mattel to sell more Barbies. It is a marketing ploy. Like, it's an ad. It's a film length ad. But it's also this incredible artistic film that has a point and has things to say and has these incredible performances and incredible editing and like set design and costume design and just the direction. Like, everything about it is great, and yet it is an ad, but also it knows that it's an ad, and that is part of the point that this film is making. Like, do you see what I mean? Do you see why I know I'm ranting now and I'm getting really into it, and I think that adds to the artificiality. Like, it's all artificial, none of it's real. And then you get to the end, and again, spoiler alert, don't watch I don't know why you're watching this if you haven't seen Barbie, but like, you get to the very end, and Barbie doesn't want to be Barbie anymore. Like, she doesn't want to be Barbie anymore. She wants to be a real person. And oh my god, the speech at the end, she wants to be one of the people with imagination. She wants to think up the ideas. She doesn't want to be the idea. And it's just... Also, completely unrelated, but this is a thought that I keep having. It's very cold. It's July and I'm freezing. I had to put a jumper on. I've got a scarf around me. Like, firstly, fuck the weather. But secondly, I keep having this thought. Because, like, Ken's journey in the film, it's really about autonomy. Like, he feels he doesn't have autonomy. He goes to the real world, he sees the patriarchy's a thing, and he's like, hey, that's how I get autonomy, I'll do a patriarchy. Which obviously kind of puts him in the role of villain, which I love. I think that's fascinating. I think it's fascinating to explore the way that men betray women. Even kind men, even men that we trust, can betray us for, their own gain. And it's not because they're evil, it can be because they're just being stupid or lazy or complacent or just a little bit selfish. And I think that that's fascinating, and that again is a longer conversation. But I think it's also important, like Barbie, also, like, both of their stories are about agency and autonomy, and in different ways. Because, it's made more obvious in the narrative because it's a more obvious kind of lack of agency. But Ken was literally invented to be Barbie's boyfriend. He was invented to love her. That is his purpose. Whereas Barbie's purpose is to be, the perfect woman who can do anything, who's smart and beautiful and capable and can literally be anything. But that also means that she's not her own person. Like, she's literally not a person. Like, they're both not people, they're dolls. But I think that there's something so interesting about seeing that lack of autonomy and how it affects men and women differently. And also, obviously, like, we're talking in a very binary way. Barbie is very much an archetype. She always has been. Barbie is a woman. Ken is the man that is there as the accessory to the woman, but like Ken doesn't matter. Um, but it's just there's something fascinating about how men and women go about dealing with that feeling of not having agency, not having control. And obviously it's in a very heightened way, but like the male patriarchal solution is to go, well, I'm just in charge now and I'm going to do it my way. Whereas the female, more matriarchal solution is to go, okay, I need to explore this and I need to find out why, and go on this like more internal journey. Like, she goes and she talks to her creator and discovers that she doesn't need permission to be a person, that she just is because she says she is. And that's so powerful. It's such a, this movie is like, it's so great and it's so stupid, and I love that it's both. Like, you get the fucking Ken song and the dance fight, and it's wonderful. And there's, you know what it is? There's this episode of Bob's Burgers, just to jump around and talk about many things. There's this episode of Bob's Burgers where Linda becomes obsessed with decorating a bin in the neighborhood, and this local woman who's a right fucking wagon of a one, she's like, it's graffiti and it's stupid, and Linda's like, yeah, it is stupid, but it made me happy, it made people who saw it happy, and we need to be stupid, like, we should have the freedom to be stupid sometimes. And I think that's, and this again ties, I genuinely, I think I'm gonna write an essay about this movie. I think I have to. It's the brainworms are in there. I think I have to. I think I have to. I think I have to. I loved it so much. It's so good. I think I need to go see the movie again. Which would mean I would have to put together another outfit. So I would have to break out more pink. This is actually, I feel like this is a plan. I need to go see the movie. This is the only conclusion I can come to. I need to break out some more pink outfits. And I need to go see the movie again. It's the only solution.